Hotep, peace, Islam, Namaste. Once again, my name is Afet Mayat Edu Bey, and this is part 2 of our 6-part series that we're discussing called Self-Improvement. And this is part 2 of that same lecture that I'm doing right now, part 2 of it. Week number 6. 7 units. We're dealing with the number unit 5, which is how to take care of yourself, your husband, consort, and also men or brothers. Same for you, your wife or your consort. Just another name, consort. That just means your helpmeet, instead of using the word husband or wife, consort. So we're going to continue off talking about the self-improvement series. And I think before the first part interrupted and ended, we were talking about relationships, and I was saying that I had made a pact with myself as a young girl. My mother had died at an early age. I was 11 years old. My father raised us, and I know he played a strong impact on the woman that I am today. And I was saying that it's important because I think with the, shift, we're going to call it, that took place back in the 70s, that's when the family unit became disrupted. We all know the reasons. I'm not here to discuss all that, but it happened, and we see the remnants of that now. So when I was saying that the roles have been reversed now, strategically, as far as men and women dealing with one another, we see a lot of women, they have aggressive tendencies now. It's good to be a strong woman. I'm a strong woman, but it's a certain way that, I exemplify that strength. So I think that's a science now. The more we, as we evolve with this new role reversal, it's not new, but it's just an impact that has been made upon relationships with men and women. And I was discussing about the smoking and how they're saying now that women who smoke are taking on men characteristics of men, because more women are smoking now. And the article was saying that more men have actually stopped smoking. It's still high, but they were saying more men have actually changed their smoking habits. So that profounded me so much, because they were saying that the women, when they're smoking now, more of them are smoking, but they're taking on those characteristics of men while they're smoking. And that was a big impact. Not the fact that they're smoking, yeah, that's health. That's very important. They shouldn't be smoking. But the thing that really impacted me with that article was that they were saying that women are taking on characteristics of men due to smoking. And that blew my mind. I'm like, wow, this deep. So I read the article on and on. I said I want to discuss some of that today. And that's what we've been talking about. So once again, we say a lot of women that are taking on these characteristics of men, and the men are becoming somewhat passive because of the role reversals that did take place after the 70s. And so we see a lot of these things going on in our community, and that's what we were talking about. I'm not going to linger on that any longer. It's too much longer with this subject, because I want to get on to making another point with the cooking recipe that I'd like to share. But I just felt that there is a need to discuss the relationship part, because that's very important in determining our future relationships and our future, dialogue and communication with men and women to one another has changed so much, and that has made an impact on children, as I was saying before. Because of that, we see a lot of displaced children in the family unit. We see children that are misunderstood. There's, with the energy shift, there are different type of children, personalities that have come about. A lot of parents can't deal with children that have a real high vibratory rate or energy. That's for another discussion later on, but that's tied into the family unit as well. We'll talk about that in the coming weeks. But they see their parents or their husband, wife, whatever, not really dealing with one another in a correct way, whether the parent is in the home or not. There are a lot of single brothers as well, and I have to go out to them who are raising their children, because I came out of that, and I just thank my father so much, because he made such a big impact on my life. He's the reason for the woman that I am today, because my mother died at an early age, and I said that we as women, we nurture the children in our ancient customs, you know, that go back to Egypt over here, because we ruled the whole world. The woman was responsible for the nurturing of the children at an early age. So that would be the impact as far as from 1 to age of 6. Even if there was a parent in the home or however type of lifestyle we were living at that time as ancient people. So with that being the case, the woman plays a role and the father plays a role. So that's very important. But if the children, like today, is such an impact now because the parents are not dialoguing with each other in the correct way. We have a lot of women that are bitter now for whatever reason from dealing with the father of their children. And like I said, unless there is some extenuating circumstance where they feel that the father shouldn't see the child and vice versa. Because there are also women who are bad parents as well. I don't want to say bad, but they need nurturing. Because I don't like to use bad in my vocabulary. Trouble, let's put it that way. So unless there are women out here that have done something wrong where they shouldn't be allowed to see their children. And also men out there as well who have done something wrong, that those need to be addressed. But if it's something like a pedophile or something like that, no, they shouldn't even be around children at all, men or women. Absolutely not. If they're their own children, that should be supervised, should be outside the home in another area, and that's just another subject for another time as well. We're dealing about regular ways from parents to nurture their children. But I'm saying with that, unless they have that on their plate, then they shouldn't be around children at all, including their own, unless it's supervised, heavily supervised, depending on what type of pedophilia this person was involved in. But we see now with the split of the family that we see a lot of children that are not nurtured correctly. You know, a lot of them are in the street. Some of them could be at home. They're feeling unloved, uncared for. And like I said, dealing as an educator, I saw this every day. And I was at the point where a lot of the children wanted to come home with me, you know, to make a long story short, because they were not getting these things at home. Not to say that I'm all bad or whatever, but they, you know, I just love dealing with children so much. A lot of them, they started coming home with me. You know, over the weekends, things like that. I started groups trying to nurture them, which I still try to do now, you know. So I'm dealing as an educator, homeschooling, and also tutoring. So that's very important now, because with the dealings of each other, the children have been neglected, and then they've been, you know, out of the way wherever they've been moved outside the home for whatever reason. Whether they're there, they're being neglected some type of way. Some of them are in the street, as we said before. You know, these type of things at an early age. A lot of homelessness as well that the parents could go through. So that's what we have to come together in a more collective way as far as to see how we can address this dilemma. We have to solve this problem ourselves. We can't look to the government to do it. Obama can't solve it. You know, they're a good example. I do want to say that. Michelle Obama and her family, including President Obama, they're girls. I mean, they're a good example. So those of you all that may not have seen what that looks like, a united family, they are a good example of that for all families from what we see. You know, as far as them, they have a beautiful relationship. They have problems as well, we know that, but you know, the way that they deal with one another. I mean, so nobody can really say, well, I don't know what it looked like. Okay, especially for our people. They want to say, well, I don't know what that really looked like if they didn't never had that. You know, I saw that. I grew up in a type of home like that. I mean, my whole family, people stay married for a long time and things like that on my side of my family. You know, they've been married for years and years, things like that. So I've seen that with my mother and father. They were soulmates when my mother died, you know. My father never even remarried because of that, you know. So, I saw that, the nurturing of relationships as well before she died. So that was my background, you know. But I think for those of our people that say that they've never seen it, well, they've got it right in front of them, the president and his wife and their children. They're nurturing each other. And he's the president. He's got a whole lot on his plate. She's got a lot on her plate, the president's wife, as we see. So now I think none of our people can say, well, I don't know of an example. I don't have no example of nobody. I never had that. You can't say that no more because this man is the president and he's, you know, of color. So he's the president, you know, he's everybody's president, but he's one of us per se. You know, no matter what people say about the man, you got that family there, and that's one thing that they can't really go negative about, and they know it. And if anyone does, well, they got a mental problem because They have, I'm not saying they have an excellent relationship, but they're a good example to me, especially for culture and refinement, the way they treat one another as far, how he treats her and everything like that. And you can tell the way she talks, it's real. She's not making none of these things up about how he treats her or whatever. And him, her as well, and the children, you can see it reflecting how they deal with each other in the public. And that's why I tie all these 7 units, because it's very important. I can see that reflected in Michelle Obama. I can see that 7 units reflected in President Obama himself, So I'm just saying that as a people, us, we can't say, oh, well, I didn't have that. I didn't have none of that. You see it right there. The story's there for you to look at, study it, all on the internet, whatever, YouTube, all kind of videos, You can look at, and maybe that'll affect your life as far as how you may want to change, and you're dealing with your spouse or your consort or man and woman together. If you're outside the home, how you want to, present yourself now. Women as well. Don't be so much beating up on the man all the time. Like I said, unless there's some extenuating circumstance, then you don't want him at home. There's violence, stuff like that. Maybe he's going through some drugs, things like that. You don't want your children around that. I understand that. But if this brother's just like down and out, maybe he's going through a few things, but basically he still got a good heart. He should still be allowed to see his children. Likewise with a female or woman that may be going through some time, and the man is the primary caretaker. There are a lot of single brothers. My hats go out to you all as well, because you're doing your job too as far as taking care of your children too. I know there's a lot of single men out there taking care of their children in the home too. So I'm making this equal. This is all equal. So nobody can say, well, sister, I said you only talking about. No, it's all equal here, baby. So you don't have to say that. And that's very important. And I know, going back to the Obamas, I know education is very important with them as well, as far as the children home. They have that love, and I can see that, and my hats go out to them. I don't agree with some of the policies that they're doing. I'm not here to talk about that, but as far as him as the president and her, their relationship, I mean, that's a beautiful thing to me, so that's all I'm saying. So none of our people can say, oh, well, okay, they, this and that or whatever. They don't have that, because they do in their reflection. Well, maybe we could take some lessons or pointers from them. So that's all I want to say. So we just have to go inside of ourselves to see how we can improve ourselves, how we dialogue with one another. And sometimes I know we as women, sometimes we have a sharp tongue, and sometimes we get into it with our men, and we're all flapping off at the mouth, And no woman should be hit or abused or anything for that reason. If the woman feels like she's getting emotional, she needs to step aside, get herself together. The brother, if he feels like he want to hit the sister, he shouldn't. He should go out the door, go away for a while, and then get himself together. He should never hit the woman for no reason. No woman deserves, or no man vice versa. For a woman, it's a lot of women that are putting their hands on men too now. They don't want to talk about that. But like I said, with me, it's equal. I talk about each thing. I try my best to keep it on an equal balance or equal scale. So a lot of this has to do with, as a single people, we're not taking the time to deal with ourselves. Even though we're in these relationships with our children, we're not taking the time to deal with self. And the way that you can do that is, like I said, a lot of times, whether you're at job or work or you're at home, just take some time, go in your rooms. You got that peace for about 30, 35, 40 minutes. Reflect, meditate, pray, whatever you call yourself. Get closer with yourself and your so-called God, or whatever, your creator or Allah, whatever you want to call him. Get in touch with you to seek that balance. Light a candle. There's certain kind of candles dealing with metaphysics that you could use. The pink candle deals with balance. I think I have one here. A pink candle somewhere. Yeah, I have one right here. Now this one deals with balance, how to get yourself together as far as you're meditating. You can light a pink candle, make sure you don't leave it around the house and catch fire, things like that around your children. But if you put it up somewhere you can meditate and reflect, this helps as well. It represents balance for both men and women. That's a good candle to use. So I'm going to wrap this up here, and I hope we learned something from what we discussed today. And also I want to get back to the cooking. There's a good meal or a good vegetarian dish you can possibly cook. It's called eggplant salad, and you can look it up on VeggieWeb, and I'll also try to post it up on my Facebook page sometime today. So I want to thank you all for listening again. I hope that you all received something from this lecture. And I want to end, as I greeted you in the beginning, with peace and love. Have a wonderful day.